security, insecurity, we talk about economy, education, infrastructure, and all of that. But at this moment, we would like to interrogate the president's speech because President Bola Tinubu, this morning in his address marking Nigeria's 65th independence anniversary, declared that the country's worst economic days are over and that reforms are beginning to yield results. He emphasized that his administration chose long-term progress over short-term comfort and thanked Nigerians for their endurance and support during tough economic transitions. Well, Tinubu highlighted major reforms such as the removal of fuel subsidies and unification of the foreign exchange rates, which he said ended decades of corruption and mismanagement. These changes, he argued, have freed up resources now being directed toward key sectors like education, healthcare, infrastructure, and security. The president outlined economic achievements, including a 4.23% GDP growth in Q2 2025, declining inflation at 20.12%, and rising non-oil revenue. He also mentioned increased foreign reserves at $42.03 billion, improved trade balances, a stronger naira, and Nigeria's first interest rate cut in 5 years as signs of economic stability and investor confidence. On security, the president said, government forces are winning the fight against terrorism, banditry, and separatist violence, leading to the return of peace in many communities. He affirmed that national security remains a priority to support economic recovery and stability. While he also praised Nigeria's youth as the nation's greatest asset and outlined initiatives like student loan programs, credit schemes, and the $600 million IDICE project aimed at boosting digital innovation and creative industries. He said over 500,000 students and 8 million households had already benefited from government support programs. Concluding his speech, the president called for national unity, productivity, and support for local industries. He urged Nigerians to remain patient as reforms take full effect and encourage them to contribute to building a self-reliant, prosperous future through hard work, tax compliance, and faith in the nation's potential. Beautiful. Barrister Darlington, yes. You heard it all. You and I were here on the morning show, but a lot of our viewers might not have joined us, so we need to talk again. We keep it because it's a developing story. We are 65 years old, so we want to know how far we have traveled in the past 65 years. What does the future hold for us and all of that? Not just for us, but our children and generations yet unborn. So we'll get into, the president acknowledged some kind of hardship, but says there's optimism for recovery. He considered that many Nigerians are feeling the pain from inflation and cost of living pressures, but insisted the worst is over following difficult but necessary reforms. Barrister Darlington, what's your broad reaction to the president's speech this morning, 65th anniversary broadcast to Nigerians? What did the president say? What are your takeaways? Did he offer you hope, or do you see despair? Is it despondency or some form of optimism? What did you see in the 30+ minutes that the president spoke to Nigerians this morning?
What I saw in that speech is what I have always seen since 10 years ago, that APC hijacked our life. The same speech Buhari was making until he left office. And after that, we started lamenting. Deceit, propaganda, unfulfilled dreams. So when you have a speech that is littered with all this, how can you have hope? How can you? Because he knows very well what he's doing. He knows. I don't know why APC leaders find it very easy and very comfortable to tell lies. To tell lies. And when they are telling this lie, they say it with so much impunity and arrogance that gullible Nigerians tend to believe them. We believed them 10 years ago, and look at where we are today. Until APC returned us to where they met us in 2015, I will not listen to any of their talk because I know it is full of deceit. The same deceit they used to come into office. They have not changed. They have not repented.
Mr. Agomo, taking us back to 2015, wouldn't that be backward steps, you know?
In what way?
I mean, how can we go back to 2015 when other nations are making progress?
Oh, my God. Mr. Okoro, I am sure you saw what happened to Nigeria during the period of Jonathan and PDP government. How life was at best easy. Companies were functioning. Nigerians had a life. We had a middle class in this country. What was the exchange rate then? How much were you buying that staple food called rice? You mean the government that gave us such such a privilege, such a good thing? They are stupid. Then this other one that came to destroy everything is the one that is wiser. How can you do that? APC failed. They know. Do you know one of the reasons that make me laugh? When Buhari left and Tinubu came in, it was full of lamentation. They met an empty treasury. They met a comatose economy. They met a bankrupt economy. That's what they have been saying, But they can never open their mouth and call out names. How Buhari destroyed this country and left it after all the promises, after all the same Independence Day speeches that came to nothing. In fact, each time I remember what these people have done, I feel like hitting something.
Okay, Barrister, don't hit anything, please. Don't hit anything. We are
because look at how grown men, elders, leaders who claim to be patriotic people should be lying to Nigerians.
I wanted to ask you this question in the morning. Is it that they see something? Are they things they see differently from what we see?
It is because it is said that you cannot give what you don't have.
Okay.
Mr. Okoro, let us start from the beginning.
Beautiful, because I was coming to that point.
The foundation of everything is very vital. If you are trying to build a 200-story building, the foundation will tell you good where you are going. Please, did the APC come into office with a strong foundation? Look at the personalities involved. The man that came before this other
when you ask me if APC came with a strong foundation, are you talking about what they inherited? Because they have always said, look, we inherited an economy that had tanked, clearly.
Leave that lies. Okay. That propaganda has been exposed.
Okay.
It has been exposed, so they cannot go there again. I am talking of the personalities that took over.
Okay.
Do they have a strong foundation?
In terms of character,
the capacity, the intellectual capacity to run an economy as big as Nigeria, do they have it?
Why not?
Do they even have it?
Why not? We had one of them, the person that in fact took over from PDP, was former head of state. He has served as Minister of Petroleum in the 70s. In fact, one of the refineries, two of the refineries we had, both of them were built by him. Talking about Muhammad Buhari, he was military administrator of Borno State. So didn't he have that pedigree? He was head of state at some point.
Look, he was doing all those things under military regime. And so, in the military regime, it is seniority that matters, not your capacity.
We had another person in the person of Olusegun Obasanjo, who was also a military person. He had military background. But Nigerians seem to think that he did better than Buhari. What impact did his military training have on him?
I am telling you, APC.
Okay. No, I mentioned APC, and I told you, we have talked about Buhari now. The current president retired as the treasurer of Mobile, top-notch financial expert.
Hey, God.
So, isn't that a good pedigree? I'm asking.
Mr. Okoro, you see, this is where I would disagree with you.
Okay.
From Buhari to Tinubu, all these credentials you are telling me now, did you verify any of them and you confirm that they are true? To start with.
Was Buhari not military president? Wasn't he head of state? Wasn't he governor of Borno State? Wasn't he petroleum minister? What other verification do you need?
Please, holding an office is different from performing in that office.
Okay, but at least they held those offices.
What came out of those offices?
He built refinery.
Which refinery?
One in Port Harcourt. Yes. In fact, NNPC was opened under his watch as Minister of Petroleum.
Good. What happened?
So should it be his problem that you people ran it aground in his absence?
No. He ran it aground.
Wow.
Under his watch. We are looking
Which watch?
Under Buhari's watch.
The thing was already comatose.
No. Listen, wait on. Under his watch, Nigeria was looking for $2.8 billion that disappeared under his watch.
Okay.
And the money flew into US, Midland Bank. Is that not true? Since you want to go there.
No, but we are already there. It's not because we are interrogating 65 years of Nigeria.
Yes, I want to tell you where
the
people you mentioned, how they ran this country aground. It was during the Second Republic that the probe into that money came up.
Okay, but
and while the money was being probed by the National Assembly, in fact, it was Saraki's father, the senior Saraki, who read the letter from Midland Bank confirming that yes, they received such an amount of money, but they are looking for the owner. They want to identify the owner. It was in that process that Shagari was overthrown.
Okay.
And that money was, traced to somebody. Please, who took over from Shagari? Who overthrew Shagari?
All right, Barrister, like I said.
Who overthrew Shagari?
Barrister, like I said, 65 years of independence. I would like for us to start from the beginning, from independence. In fact, from the days of nationalists. So let's go to Kaduna, where we still have Mr. Jonathan Ashake. Mr. Ashake, I would like for us to interrogate our 65 years of independence. Let's start from where we actually started from. I don't want us to go into the nationalist days and all of that, the struggle for independence. Between 1960 and 1999, how far did our leaders take us in the journey to nationhood in terms of building a United Nations? The Union has existed for 65 years. So I would like for us to talk about how Nigerians have been able to bond as a people. In terms of infrastructure, how far have we traveled? If you compare us with people that we started out with, talking about the Asian tigers, talking about people who were also colonized with us, both here in West Africa, Ghana, here in West Africa, you travel around Africa, Botswana, people that got independence almost the same time with us, Malaysia, Singapore, and all of them. How far have we traveled? And how far did our leaders take us in the journey to nationhood? Hello, Mr. Sake, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, did you get my question?
Yeah, I did.
Okay, beautiful. Let's have your take on that.
Yeah, I say we've been on the same rhetorics, year in, year out. And so it's needless to begin to go into this history. If you go into all this history, right from independence to the time that the first coup was staged, where Sadona and Tafawa Balewa and other leaders were removed or were eliminated, and all the way to the time that Gawan came into power and stayed there for 9 years, and then Murtala removed him, and also he was killed after 6 months, and then we went into another military rule until 1979, when we now went into a democracy and Shagari emerged, and until 1983, when he was also removed. And all these things have been going on. But one will expect that we would have learned, through those processes. But to me, that is not really the issue, because when the military first came in, we never had a democracy until 1979, when Shagari came in. And then it was truncated again after just about the first 4 years and 3 months. And we went into another military regime that brought in General Buhari, and he was further removed in 1985.
All right, Mr. Asake, I had to butt in at this time. Like you said, it's needless getting into all of those histories.
Exactly.
Because my question is, because we also have parallels in other parts of the world. Winston Churchill was a wartime leader. He was a wartime leader. We also have military. Sukarno in Indonesia were military men that transformed their nations and all of that. If you go to a place like Dominican Republic, we have Trujillo and all of that. These are people, you know, that moved their countries ahead. And my question now is, in all of this, our founding fathers, the people that we call our founding fathers, how much did they take us in the travel to nationhood? Did they unite us as a people? What infrastructure did they leave us with? What hospitals, world-class hospitals, education, standard of education? And if we say at this point, like in your opening intervention, you said that we have lost it. At what point did we lose all of this? And how can we make amends? That is the essence of this conversation that we are having. It's not as if we want to crucify anybody. We want to know where we made the mistake and how can we reinvent the Nigeria of 1960s. Because as at that point, we were meant to understand that Nigerian economy was, in fact, at regional level, we had economies that were doing wonderfully well in terms of world standards. Western Nigeria had the first television station in the whole of Africa. The Southeastern economy was about one of the best, one of the first 6/10 in the whole of the world. At what point did we lose all of that? That is the question. How can we make amends?
Well, I think at the point, to my mind, at the point we lost the whole of it is when we began to ethnicize politics or politicize ethnicity, or we began to religionize politics or regionize politics. That means that we saw politics and governance through the prism of religion, ethnicity, and region. And to me, that is the crux of the matter. We have not always acted as one united entity that looks forward to seeing a developed country, a country that is developing and carrying its citizens along in unity, that observe the rule of law, and that everybody is equal before the law. But we started seeing our people, you know, from the aspect of where they come from, which region, which ethnicity. Are they Yoruba? Are they Fulani? Are they Hausa? Are they Igbos? And so on. We began to say, are they Christians or Muslims particularly? In fact, we oftentimes even forget other religions, that they are even traditional worshippers. If you come to the north, even development, even just given infrastructural development in communities is determined by whether these people are Christians or they are Muslims, or whether they are of this ethnicity.
Okay.
You know, so if you look at it, we lost it when we started bringing all those sentiments into governance, into our leadership, into our national life.
Okay.
And up till this very day that I'm talking, we are still using that even leaders emerge because, we are saying this leader will emerge not because he has the qualities of leadership, not because he's a credible person, but because, he's from this section, or he's of this religion. That is even what brought about the so-called Muslim ticket that we are talking about today. So unless we come up with a format of recruiting leaders based on their capacity, based on their quality, and based on their capabilities.
All right, Mr. Jonathan, I'd like to stay with you because let's come to the present now. And since you are in the north, I want us to talk about insecurity. And you served as the president of Southern Kaduna People's Union, Sokapu. Now, in Kaduna State, and that is the northwestern part of this country, what is the state of insecurity at the moment? And what will you say has been the sincerity or the intentionality of the present government or the immediate past in fighting insecurity? When you talk about insecurity in the Northwest, what do you see? When you talk about insecurity in Kaduna State, what do you see? What do you know? What do you feel? Let us into all of that. And also, we would like for you to prefer solutions on how you think the problem can be solved at this moment.
Well, going by all the media reports, everybody seems to be saying that insecurity has actually subsided.
Okay.
Which is true to some extent. What happened during my time as the national president of Southern Kaduna People's Union was the continuous attacks across communities on almost daily basis, where also, vulnerable communities were attacked by night mostly, and the people were killed in mass numbers and property destroyed. Today, it has subsided in Kaduna State, but it's still going on in some other states in the north, and then particularly in the north.
States? Like which states, if you don't mind? Could you mention those states?
Yeah, the people are still being killed in Katsina. They are still being killed in Zamfara State, particularly, and in Sokoto State. You've heard the stories of people being rounded up in their communities, in their mosques, and they are being killed. And let me tell you one thing that I've observed. Seeing that most of these warlords that perpetrate this wickedness across communities, that especially the aspect of kidnapping, where people are being kidnapped into the forest. Like in Kaduna State now, kidnapping is still going on. In fact, they go into communities. Sometimes they will take a whole community away into the forest. And by the time they put their ransom on each head, sometimes you hear that they put each head with 5 million. And so it will go into hundreds of millions. And by the time communities raise that amount of money, so many have died, even before they get to rescue some of them. So if you look at the areas like Katsina State, where recently there was a government, had a kind of settlement with these bandits, so the so-called bandits. I look at an eyesore before the nation, where this bandit warlord was putting all his magazines in his chest and was talking with arrogance. And the security people were there. After they finished that, they rode back into the forest in their numbers, and nothing happened. So it seems to suggest something to me.
And what would that be? What would that be?
It seemed to suggest that somehow along the line, I'm thinking that this present administration had a secret pact with the last administration, not to touch these bandits that actually all over the forest in the north and killing and kidnapping people and collecting ransom in billions. It's like there was a secret pact to allow them not to prosecute them, not to get them, rounded up, because the federal might we have of our military can deal with these people within a very short time. But they are being pampered. Look at, if you go to the southern part, you will see that any person that rises up as a criminal there will always be tracked down and will be brought to book. If you look at how Nnamdi Kanu was brought all the way, was tracked down all the way from Kenya and brought to Nigeria, and he's still being kept under detention today. But look at people like Turji, one warlord that has killed the military people, has killed them in several numbers. And nothing happened. They are only talking about, they must go and negotiate with them. They must go and negotiate like the way they negotiated with the Niger Delta people. Meanwhile, they are just having one-ton killing without any reason. And raising a huge amount of money,
as ransom.
As ransom. And so you can know that they have their own sponsors for that. So I think we must probe into this thing that the present administration must have had a secret pact with the last administration of Buhari, so that they can come into government. If not, they would have quashed this thing.
Okay. All right, Mr. Jonathan, before we come back to the studio, I would like to ask you this question. You made mention of communities being sacked in parts of Kaduna and Katsina State, and especially in the northwestern part of this country. Now, I would like for you to tell us, do you by chance know or think that these killings do they have ethnic undertones? Do they have religious undertones? Or is it some form of coincidence that a certain group of people are always killed and others are not killed? Is it intentional, or is it some form of coincidence? What is it? What do you know?
It varies from place to place.
Okay.
In some places, it has ethnic undertone. If you go to areas like Zamfara, Sokoto, Katsina, it is actually the indigenous native Hausa communities that are the victims of these attacks. and the attacks are perpetrated by the Fulanis. So that one in that region has that ethnic undertone. If you come to Kaduna, you will see that it is actually the Christian communities, the non-Muslim communities that are suffering the brunt of these attacks. So it has a religious undertone.
Okay.
But if you go to some other areas, it is actually criminality based on resources.
Okay.
That the kidnapping is actually a criminality based on resources that they attract. They have their sponsors. So since the ransoms now for kidnappings amount up to billions now, you see them with billions in the forest, and they take this money to the banks. And we have what it takes in terms of technology to track these monies.
Them.
And
Okay.
they know. And the governors, the government knows that they know the people that are perpetrating this, but they will not track them down because there are powerful individuals that are involved. So when you talk about what is causing this, I can tell you it has elements of ethnicity, it has elements of religion, it has elements of finances. That is, yes, it has elements of money involved.
Okay. Okay. All right. Thank you very much,
And
Mr.
to some extent, in fact, it has elements of power play amongst politicians.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much, Mr. Ashake. We'll come back to you in a moment. Let's come back to the studio now, where we still have Barrister Darlington. Now, Barrister, before we get into the economic reform policies of this administration, still interrogating the 65 years of independence. Now, in terms of insecurity, you heard everything that Mr. Jonathan Ashake said. Last week, Nigerian government said no, that Christians in Nigeria were not being attacked, that it was not intentional. And if you go by the book definition of genocide, when you kill one or more group of people, that have some kind of ethnic, national, religious, and cultural affiliation, and all of that, it could actually translate into genocide, especially when you have the mental and the physical elements present. And that we have seen in parts of the north central, and even parts of the south Nigeria. So based on what Mr. Ashake said, does it look to you like the government is playing some kind of hide and seek with Nigerian lives, denying that there is, that a group of people are not targeted for killing? We have somebody who just gave us first-hand report where he's coming from, that Christians are targeted, Muslims are targeted. So what does it look to you?
Yeah, it is very obvious because initially when this thing started, nobody believed in it. When people like T.Y. Danjuma, Obasanjo were talking of Fulanization of Nigeria and, Islamization of Nigeria, people just dismiss it. But when you look closely, you will discover that this is what is going on. If not, why would anybody go to a place like a Plateau and Benue, sack an entire village populated by Christians? I mean, sack them, kill all of them, and then take over their farm, and then take over their villages and their homestead. What will you call that? Is that ordinary clashes or what? It's a direct ethnic cleansing.
No, but we still have farmers and headers who, in the struggle for space.
No. That is the what do I call it now? A camouflage. The real issue here is that they want those villages, because if it is a farmer header clash, they have been offered the land that are 10 times better than what they are looking for in Benue and Kaduna. They have been offered in places like Niger, Kogi, and even Kano. They refuse. They refuse to take those offers. So how will you now tell me that it's a farmer header clash? Tell me. Okay, the villages they took over, is it part of the land they are looking for? So you can see that these guys were imported into Nigeria. They were brought into Nigeria. Nigeria at 65 years in 21st century. Some people who claim to be leaders went outside there to bring in terrorists because they want power. Is that not the genesis of this matter? But when it started, people didn't pay much attention until the monster they created is now haunting them. That's why they don't want to address it now, because they brought it.
Okay, but Barrister, we are questioning him now. Let's get away from insecurity, and I just hope that the government will be able to, do something, become proactive, because the issue of insecurity has dogged this country for a very long time. We are talking about 65 years of independence, yet we are grappling with insecurity, and you can't make economic progress in an atmosphere that is clearly insecure as we have in this country. Farmers no longer go to farm. The people that go to farm are chased, harassed, and in some cases even killed, and they are unable to defend themselves. I would like for us to look at the economic reform agenda and of this administration and going forward, because the president defended the removal of fuel subsidies and the unification of the exchange rate as a bold but needed step. Barrister, fuel subsidy removal, foreign exchange unification. How far have we gone? I would like for you to take a step backwards 2 years ago and probably another 2 years ahead. Where are we coming from? Where are we going to? What, do you see anything ahead? Does it look to you like there is hope? Do you have any kind of optimism about what Nigeria might become by 2027? Nigerians need to know, because we need hope. It is hope that drives human life. If you don't have hope, then you have nothing. Barrister, do you see hope in the horizon?
I don't think so. This mantra of renewed hope, it has become hopeless. I thank God, even the man at the helm of affairs is aware, he knows. That's why at every opportunity he keep apologizing, begging Nigeria, but he's not doing anything to ameliorate the
Okay, all right. Barrister, I'd like for you to hold on to your line of thought. We have an incoming call. Good evening, and thanks for calling in on Political Lens. Your name and where you are calling from. 1 minute, sir.
Yeah, my name is Anthony Okafor.
Okay. Good evening, Anthony. Welcome.
Yeah, I'm calling from Canada.
Beautiful.
Yeah. I want to specifically say that.
Go ahead, Anthony. I can hear you loud and clear.
Yeah, what we are discussing, this godfatherism in Nigeria should be stopped. Wike has no legal right to impose himself on Fubara.
Okay.
They should stop that nonsense.
All right, Anthony, thank you very much. Unfortunately, we are not discussing River State now. We are talking about Nigeria. We are 65 years old today. So, but it's good to know that you are concerned about what is going on in River State between the godfather and the godson, and you don't want any of that. Thank you very much. We appreciate your call. Barrister?
Yeah, so economically, I didn't see any progress here, because we are going backward, going by the resources available, because it is said that to whom much is given, much is expected. Some countries that didn't have 1/4 of the resources we have, they have moved on.
But Barrister, I hate to butt in at this moment, but when you say to whom much is given, much is expected.
Yes.
The administration, this current administration, the administration that came into office in 2023 says they inherited a dead economy.
I don't think so. If the economy was...
Okay, Barrister, I'm sorry to interrupt you again. We have another call that is coming in. Good evening, and thanks for calling in. Your name and where you are calling from?
I am Engineer calling you from Lagos.
Beautiful, Engineer. Good evening. Just 1 minute, sir.
Please, I want to totally disagree with Barrister. Totally disagree with your Barrister. Now, please, you are talking about the dollar rates. Please, let us go back to where we are coming from the Buhari administration. In Buhari's administration, the difference between the official rate and the black market was so wide that it was politicians were using it as racketeering. You can imagine when Cardoso came in, Cardoso told us there were more than 10,000 BDCs in Nigeria owned by politicians. What did they do? They will go in to CBN because of their connection, collect $5,000 for each of their brood change, come out and change it in the black market, making exorbitant gain of about 1,000 naira each.
Okay.
Just imagine in that country, and you expect that country to strive. Now Tinubu came in, now said no. That nonsense must stop. Now look at how the system is gradually rebasing itself. Thanks to Cardoso, because he now.
Well, thanks to the president.
Said,
thanks to the president because he appointed Cardoso.
No.
Okay, thank you. Okay. Now, fine. When Cardoso came, he said there were more than 10,000 BDCs. Now he now said no politician should have a BDC. And from 10,000 BDCs, it dropped to less than 1,000 BDCs. And now, not only that, you now capitalize.
Okay.
You now recapitalize with the CBN, making transparency in the system. Now look at how the thing is gradually dropping. I am not a fan of Tinubu, but when somebody does the right thing, we should give him his
All right,
honors.
beautiful. Thank you very much, Engineer. We appreciate your thought. Barrister.
Yes.
You want to react?
Good. I said to whom much is given,
Okay.
much is expected. Is that not what I said?
Yes, you did.
Now, from where we were to where they have brought us now, please, is it the same thing? When this thing was 197 naira per dollar, Mr. Okoro, a government was in power, two of us. So this idea that they have unified exchange rate, is it actually true? Because the black market is still controlling the system there. Go to the bank and say you want to buy dollar. Will you see it? Is it there? But you can get it easily at the black market rate. That is what we are even using now to compare notes. So what is anybody telling me now? That unified it does not make it right.
Okay.
The question is at what cost to the economy? You floated the naira. What is the cost of that to the economy? That is not what we are talking about today. Please, Ghana is 18 cedi to $1. South Africa is I think 14 or so to $1. Why is your own 1,600 to $1, Mr. Okoro? No, let me hear him from that man who was talking. You can see. This is the gullibility that we have suffered over the years.
Okay,
when they drop, crumbs on the table, we rush for it without asking questions.
A lot of Nigerians believe that the way we had traveled between 1999 and 2015, that if we had continued in that direction, that Nigerians would just wake up one day and the country will collapse economically, because they believe that, look, there were underlying contradictions in the economy. You don't share that?
I said, look, I don't like propaganda, and I don't want us to bring it
Barrister,
here.
this is not propaganda.
Hold on. For 8 years, listen, leave those analysts. For 8 years that Buhari was in office, was it not the same propaganda that they used to destroy this economy, Mr. Okoro? Tell me what Buhari did in office. Who destroyed this economy? Who destroyed it? Was it not APC under Buhari? Why are we not talking about that? We are talking about an economy.
I like for us to create
an economy that was booming before they came into office.
I like for us to create a what-if scenario.
We are now, hold on, we are now from number 1 that we were in Africa to number 4.
Beautiful.
Who took us to number 4?
Barrister, we are costing home.
Who took us to number 4? Who took us there? Is it not this APC?
Barrister, I would like for us to create a what-if scenario. If by 2015, when APC came into office, and inflation was 1 digit at 8% then, if they had driven it to like 4%, and exchange rate was 220, if they had reduced it to 110 naira or 150,
exactly.
If fuel price had dropped, to like probably 150 naira per liter, or even 200 naira per liter,
yes.
And probably we didn't have this kind of medical tourism.
Good.
And they drove it up until this moment. Would you still believe that the PDP administration was good?
Oh, I would not be clapping for APC because they have improved on what they made on the ground.
Okay.
They would have improved on it. That's what progress.
So, exactly.
But you cannot take us for where you met us.
You don't believe that the 16 years of the PDP administration, gave a foundation for what we are seeing today, because that is the argument of some analysts.
No, leave those let them come and prove it. Because if it were, things would have improved under APC.
Okay.
I am telling you, that is the truth now. This would have improved. We cannot say, they met us from point 1, they are taking us to point B. That means progress and improvement. But look at what is happening now under APC. The so-called press subsidy.
You are saying that they didn't have a handle on what they were coming.
They don't even know what they were doing, because the so-called fuel subsidy removal that they are using to blackmail everybody. Was the fuel subsidy actually
I wish we had time to talk about the fuel
was
subsidy
did they actually remove
but
a fuel
I'd
subsidy?
like for us to go back